Amy thought she had finally found peace. The long days at Heartland, surrounded by horses, family, and the quiet of the ranch, had healed her heart, she thought. But then, out of nowhere, a familiar figure rides down the driveway. A man she never expected to see again. Ty! The same man who once broke her heart, now standing on her doorstep, smiling as if no time has passed. And just like that, all the hope she had built crumbles. The morning sun spilled over Heartland, casting a golden glow on the paddocks. Amy walked along the fence line, her hands brushing the mane of a young horse she had been training. The ranch was calm today, quiet in a way that felt like a reward after months of hard work. Jack was off helping a neighboring farm. The kids were busy in school, and for once, there were no pressing emergencies to steal her focus. It felt like life had finally settled into a rhythm she could breathe in, free from the chaos of heartbreak and bad decisions. Amy paused to watch the horses gallop across the open fields, their hooves kicking up clouds of dust. A small smile tugged at her lips. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged here, in this place where she had poured her heart into everything that mattered. Even the chores she used to dread now held a comforting rhythm. Feeding the horses, fixing fences, and tending to the small garden, all of it reminded her that she had built a life she could be proud of. A life she could finally call her own. Her phone buzzed with a text from a close friend checking in. Amy replied, laughing softly as she typed, feeling the warmth of connection that didn't come with heartbreak attached. She glanced at a photograph pinned on the barn wall, her family smiling, the ranch in the background, memories of good times stitched together with love. It was a snapshot of stability she had longed for, the kind that made her heart feel safe again. She allowed herself a deep breath, the scent of hay and morning dew filling her lungs, the sound of birdsong weaving through the silence. This was the life she had worked so hard to reclaim, yet, even in these quiet moments, a tiny part of her remained cautious. She remembered the sting of betrayal, the nights spent crying into pillows, wondering if happiness would ever truly be hers again. Her heart had healed, but the scars were still there, invisible yet persistent, like faint lines etched into her soul. She had learned to protect herself, to trust slowly, and to find joy in the little things that no one could take away. Amy was ready to move forward, to embrace the calm, to finally leave the past where it belonged. She had rebuilt herself piece by piece, finding strength in the familiar rhythm of Heartland, believing her story had turned a new, brighter page. But some stories have a way of returning when you least expect them. A shadow across the yard, the clatter of distant hooves, a figure appearing where it should not be, something stirred in the air. Amy's eyes narrowed instinctively, her heart giving a small, uneasy skip. She scanned the horizon, thinking perhaps it was just a worker arriving or a neighbor passing by. Yet, something about the way the dust swirled, the posture of the approaching rider, made her pause. It was a sense she could not shake, the feeling that the calm she had fought so hard to achieve was about to be shattered. And deep down, her heart whispered the name she had tried to forget. Ty. The peace at Heartland shattered before Amy could even understand what was happening. A sudden clatter of hooves echoed across the paddocks, cutting through the morning calm like a warning. Amy froze, her hands gripping the fence as the sound grew closer. At first, she thought it might be a new horse or a delivery, but then she saw him. Ty. He rode slowly toward the barn, the sun catching the glint of his coat and the determined set of his jaw. Everything about him was familiar, the way he held himself, the confident tilt of his shoulders, the sharp eyes that had once made her heart race and then break. Amy felt a chill run down her spine. This was not just a visitor. This was a man who had been absent from her life for years, whose memory she had tucked away in a quiet corner of her heart. And now he was back, like a storm she couldn't see coming. Other people on the ranch noticed first, a stable hand stopping mid-task, the horses restless in their stalls, but Amy couldn't move. Her body felt heavy, her mind racing with disbelief. Questions flooded her at once. Why now? Why after all this time? Was he here for her, or was it just coincidence? She wanted to tell herself to stay calm, to let reason take over, but her heart wasn't listening. It skipped beats, thrummed painfully in her chest, as if reminding her that some wounds never fully heal. Tai dismounted, boots crunching against the gravel, and for a moment, he looked around as if trying to take in everything that had changed. Heartland seemed so alive, so full of life, and yet the tension between them made it feel smaller, tighter, like the world had compressed into this one unavoidable moment. He stopped just a few feet away, and Amy finally dared to meet his gaze. Time seemed to stretch, every second heavy with unspoken words, every breath filled with memories she had tried to bury. The man standing there had once been her everything, and now he was standing in her reality again, threatening to unravel all she had worked so hard to rebuild. Her emotions collided: anger, confusion, and a hesitant flicker of something she hadn't felt in years. Could she still forgive him? Could she allow herself to hope, even for a moment, that he had changed? Or would this return only remind her of the heartbreak she had survived? Tai opened his mouth, but no sound came out. At first, the tension was unbearable, each heartbeat echoing like a drum in her ears. Amy could feel the past and present clashing, the memories of love and loss mixing with the rawness of now. Everything she had built at Heartland, every moment of peace, was suddenly fragile, like a mirror on the edge of breaking. Then he spoke, his voice calm but carrying the weight of years apart. "Amy, I know I don't have a right to be here, but I had to see you. I had to try." The words hung in the air, soft but dangerous. Amy's chest tightened, a mix of longing and fear fighting for dominance. She wanted to step back, to run, to protect herself, but part of her wanted to know more, wanted to hear every word he had left unsaid all these years. The sun dipped slightly behind the hills, casting long shadows over the paddock, mirroring the darkness and uncertainty creeping into her heart. This was no ordinary visit. Tai's return wasn't just a surprise. It was a disruption of everything Amy had fought for. A spark that could either rekindle an old flame or burn down the life she had carefully rebuilt. And as she stood there, frozen in the middle of the paddock, she realized one truth she had tried to deny. Her story with Tai was far from over. Amy's legs felt like lead as she walked toward Tai, her heart thrumming like a wild horse. Every step seemed to echo across the paddock, each footfall dragging her closer to a past she thought she had left behind. Tai didn't move. He watched her with a mixture of caution and hope, as if he knew that one wrong step could shatter this fragile reunion. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying the faint scent of hay and earth, but even the familiar smells of Heartland couldn't calm the storm inside her chest. When they were just a few feet apart, Amy stopped. Her eyes searched his face, looking for the man she had loved, the man who had vanished and left a trail of heartbreak behind him. But the face in front of her was both familiar and strange, older, harder, and marked by experiences she hadn't lived. Tai's gaze softened when he saw her, the corners of his mouth lifting just slightly, but it didn't reach his eyes. And in those eyes, Amy saw the weight of regret, a shadow of the past, and a longing that mirrored her own. Tai finally spoke, his voice low, deliberate, carrying a tremor that betrayed his calm exterior. "Amy, I know I hurt you. I know I left. And I know you have every reason to be angry. But I never stopped thinking about you. I had to come back." Amy swallowed hard. Words she had rehearsed over years, the ones she wanted to yell, to scream, to throw like daggers, vanished in her throat. All she could feel was the tug of memories, the flash of laughter, stolen kisses, and whispered promises that had ended in silence. Anger clashed with longing, betrayal fought with hope, and in that moment, Amy felt the fragile walls she had built around her heart beginning to crumble. She wanted to walk away, to protect herself, but her feet refused to obey. Tai took a tentative step closer, and she instinctively recoiled, though a part of her ached to let him near. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness," he continued, his voice thick with emotion. "But I need you to know why I left, and why I'm here now." Amy shook her head slowly, tears pricking her eyes. "Why now, Tai? Why come back after all this time? Do you have any idea what you're doing to me?" "I do," he admitted, his tone heavy with regret. "Every day, I've regretted it. I thought I could make it right somehow. But I see now that nothing I say will undo the past. I just needed to try, for both of us. A silence fell between them, stretching long enough for the world to feel suspended. The horses in the paddock shifted uneasily, as if sensing the tension that crackled like electricity in the air. Amy felt every heartbeat, every breath, every ache in her chest, as if Ty's presence had amplified it. She wanted to hate him, to turn and leave, but the truth was undeniable. Her heart still remembered him, still recognized the connection that had once been unbreakable. The moment Ty's figure disappeared behind the barn, the stillness of Heartland felt heavier, almost suffocating. Amy stood frozen, staring at the space he had left behind, her mind a whirlwind of questions and emotions. Every corner of the ranch seemed to hum with tension. The paddocks, the stalls, even the old oak trees lining the driveway seemed to watch, silent witnesses to a storm that had quietly settled over the land. She realized that Ty's return wasn't just a fleeting surprise. It was a ripple, spreading outward, touching everything and everyone she cared about, leaving uncertainty in its wake. Inside the farmhouse, the news traveled fast. Jack, who had just returned from checking the neighboring fields, noticed the unusual silence. The children looked uneasy, sensing the shift in the air. Even the dogs, usually so lively, lay still by the hearth. Amy's siblings gathered, voices low and cautious, exchanging worried glances. "Is he really here?" one whispered, a mixture of disbelief and concern threading their words. The family had all hoped that past heartbreaks were behind Amy, that the storms of love and loss had finally passed, but Ty's presence now threatened to undo years of healing in a single, impossible moment. Meanwhile, Ty lingered at the edge of the property, glancing back at the house, his expression unreadable. It was clear he hadn't come for casual conversation. There was a purpose, an urgency that hung around him like a shadow. His mind raced with the weight of unspoken apologies, regrets, and desires. And even as he tried to appear calm, the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. Every decision, every word, every glance he made would set off a chain of events, forcing Amy and everyone at Heartland to confront past wounds they had worked so hard to forget. As evening crept in, the ranch seemed to hold its breath. Amy retreated to the paddock, seeking solitude among the horses. She stroked the mane of her favorite horse, but even that small comfort couldn't quiet the turmoil inside. Questions she had tried to ignore rose up relentlessly. Could she ever trust him again? Would her heart survive another round of hope and disappointment? And what about the people who loved her? How would they weather the storm that Ty's return would inevitably bring? The calm she had cherished for so long now felt fragile, like a delicate glass teetering on the edge of breaking. The camera, or in faceless video terms, the viewer lingers on Amy's silhouette as the sun dips below the horizon, casting long shadows over Heartland. The distant echo of hooves signals Ty riding back toward the barn, a visual reminder that his presence is far from fleeting. A faint wind rustles the trees, carrying with it a promise of upheaval, conflict, and heartbreak. Yet to come, the voiceover delivers the final tease, slow and weighty. Ty's return isn't just a blast from the past. It's a storm that will sweep through Heartland, testing loyalties, hearts, and the very foundation of the ranch. Will Amy let him in, or will her heart break all over again? One thing is certain. Nothing here will ever be the same. The next morning at Heartland, the air was thick with unspoken tension. Birds chirped, the wind whispered through the trees, and the horses shifted nervously in their stalls, as if sensing the unrest that no one dared speak aloud. Amy moved through the barn with quiet precision, her hands busy with brushing and feeding, but her mind was elsewhere. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant sound of hooves, made her flinch. Ty's presence had left a mark, an invisible weight pressing against her chest, making even ordinary tasks feel monumental. Jack noticed it immediately. Over breakfast, he kept glancing at Amy, concern etched in his eyes. "You okay?" he asked gently, trying to keep his voice light. But Amy couldn't give him a simple answer, not without unraveling a storm of memories and feelings she wasn't ready to confront. The last time Ty had returned, heartbreak had followed. Now, Even though the ranch was bustling with life, Amy felt like she was walking through a ghost town, haunted by a past that refused to stay buried. Word of Ty's return spread quickly among Heartland's neighbors, friends, and family. Whispers filled the air like a gathering storm. Some were sympathetic, others weary. Everyone wondered why he had come back and what he wanted. The ranch that had once been a sanctuary now felt like a stage. Every glance, every word, every footstep, carrying the potential to ignite old wounds. Amy felt eyes on her wherever she went, some curious, some judgmental, all uncomfortably aware of the delicate balance of emotion she was trying to maintain. Ty, meanwhile, moved through the ranch with cautious determination. He spoke to the horses, checked fences, and offered polite nods to familiar faces, but Amy could feel it in the way he watched her, a quiet intensity that was impossible to ignore. He wasn't here just for nostalgia or appearances. He was here to confront what he had left behind, and the impact of that decision was about to ripple through every corner of Heartland. The tension between them built silently, a taut wire straining to snap, and with every word he didn't say, Amy's mind spiraled through a mixture of fear, hope, and reluctant curiosity. By mid-afternoon, the emotional fallout became tangible. A minor disagreement with one of the ranch hands over routine chores spiraled unexpectedly, revealing Amy's frayed patience. Jack, sensing the tension, tried to mediate, but even his calm presence couldn't ease the strain. Amy's siblings whispered to each other about Ty's intentions, wondering whether he had returned out of love, regret, or something far more complicated. The ranch, once a place of steady rhythms and simple joys, now felt like a delicate balancing act, teetering on the edge of upheaval. As the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the fields, Amy finally allowed herself a moment of solitude. She walked to the old oak tree at the edge of the paddock, running her fingers along its rough bark. Memories of laughter, heartbreak, and lost opportunities surged through her, intertwining with the fear of what Ty's return could mean. She realized that this was only the beginning. The calm she had fought so hard for was gone, replaced by uncertainty, desire, and the haunting possibility of heartbreak all over again. The camera lingers on Amy's silhouette against the twilight, the distant sound of Ty's voice calling to a horse echoing across the ranch. The voiceover sets the stage for the finale. Ty's return is more than a visit. It's a test of loyalty, love, and resilience. Heartland may never feel the same again, and Amy's heart will soon face the hardest decision of all: hold on or let go. Night fell over Heartland, painting the ranch in deep blues and shadowed golds. The quiet that once felt comforting now carried a heavy weight. Amy stood alone in the paddock, the soft glow of lanterns casting long, trembling shadows across the ground. The horses nickered gently, sensing the tension in her, yet none could offer the kind of solace she needed. Her heart was a storm caught between memories she couldn't forget and a present she couldn't control. Every heartbeat seemed louder than the last, echoing the question she had been trying to avoid: could she ever trust Ty again? Inside the house, Jack and her siblings whispered in the kitchen, their voices tied with worry. Plans were made, thoughts exchanged, but none could predict what Ty's presence would mean for Amy or for Heartland. Ty's return had stirred more than emotions. It had awakened questions about loyalty, love, and family bonds that were stronger than any heartbreak, yet fragile under pressure. And though he hadn't overstepped boundaries yet, every glance he shared with Amy was a reminder that his intentions could unravel everything she had built. Ty himself was restless. He wandered the edge of the paddocks, hands brushing against the fence posts, eyes scanning the horizon as if trying to read the future in the landscape of Heartland. His return wasn't just about apologies or rekindled feelings, it was a reckoning. He carried the weight of years spent apart, of choices made, and a burning desire to confront the past without knowing if Amy would ever forgive him. The quiet intensity of his presence was almost unbearable, a reminder that love and heartbreak are never simple, and that some decisions can change a life forever. The camera or the faceless narration lingers on Amy and Ty from a distance. She watches him, torn between resentment and longing, while he glances back, full of hope and uncertainty. The ranch seems suspended in a fragile moment, as if time itself is holding its breath. The night deepens, shadows stretch further, and the wind carries whispers of conflict, desire, and secrets waiting to surface. Then the voiceover cuts in, slow, deliberate, and haunting. Ty's return was never meant to be quiet. It's the spark that will ignite old flames and challenge every bond at Heartland. Amy faces a choice that could change everything: hold on to the life she's built, or risk it all for a love she thought was lost. And one thing is certain, nothing here will ever be the same again. The final scene shows Amy standing at the edge of the paddock, her hair catching in the breeze, silhouetted against the moonlit ranch. In the distance, Ty's figure lingers near the barn, watching her, a letter or object in hand, something that promises more drama to come. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience with a question burning in their hearts. Will Amy let Ty back in, or will heartbreak strike once more? The music swells, a mix of hope and tension, signaling that this is only the beginning. The season is set to unfold with love, betrayal, and decisions that will leave no heart untouched at Heartland.
The first light of dawn crept over Heartland, painting the fields in soft golds and pinks, but the ranch felt anything but peaceful. Amy sat on the edge of the paddock fence, staring out at the horizon, the morning chill brushing against her face. Her thoughts were tangled, caught between the comfort of the life she had rebuilt and the chaos Ty's return had unleashed. Every memory of him, good and bad, surfaced in a flood she wasn't ready to face, yet couldn't ignore. Her heart, fragile but strong, beat with the tension of a decision she wasn't sure she was ready to make. Inside the barn, the horses stirred, sensing the emotional storm. The ranch, once a sanctuary, had transformed into a battleground of feelings. Jack approached cautiously, his eyes full of concern, offering quiet support without pushing. Her siblings lingered nearby, their expressions a mix of hope and worry. Heartland itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting for Amy to confront the truth she had been running from. Ty's return wasn't just a disruption, it was a reckoning. Ty appeared from the edge of the paddock, slower this time, his posture open but hesitant. He carried the weight of years of absence in his eyes, but also a fragile hope that Amy might forgive what the past had broken. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind whispered through the trees, the horses nickered softly, and the silence between them carried more meaning than words ever could. Every glance, every heartbeat, every unspoken word was electric. Heavy with possibility and danger, Amy finally stood, taking a shaky breath. Her voice was quiet, yet strong. Ty, you can't just come back and expect things to go back to how they were. It's not that simple. Ty nodded, a shadow of regret crossing his face. I know. And I'm not asking for everything to be forgiven. I just needed you to know I'm here, and I'll wait. I'll do whatever it takes. The camera lingers. On their silhouettes, the distance between them charged with tension, emotion, and the promise of more to come. The sun rises higher, casting long shadows, highlighting the beauty and fragility of Heartland. A place where love and heartbreak coexist in every sunrise. The voiceover delivers the final tease. Slow, lingering, and dramatic, Ty's return has shaken Heartland to its core. Amy's heart faces a choice that could change everything. Will she open herself to love again, or will the past finally win? The answers won't come easy, and the story is far from over. Heartland's greatest trials have only just begun. Screen fades to black, leaving viewers with a lingering sense of suspense, curiosity, and emotional investment. A soft sound of distant hooves echoes as the final image lingers, a reminder that in Heartland, every heartbeat, every choice, and every reunion carries the power to change everything.